Previously, Yukito's father is the head of a cult that worships the goddess Madama, but he doesn't believe in it. Due to this, he has lived an unorthodox life with constant training from his dad and some public embarrassment, which makes him a loner at school. One day his father throws him in the sea as part of his succession ritual. While in the depths of the ocean, he gets reincarnated into a world without gods and a strange system where people have to voluntarily end themselves. Luckily, he lands in the isolation village, which is reserved for those who go against the system. He becomes friendly with everyone till his first friend 𝐂𝐒𝐒𝐿 and her sister are taken by the state to be eliminated by the guards. Yukito rushes to the scene, but gets killed too. With his dying breath, he summons Madama into this godless world where she saves him and his allies. The story continues with understanding they're shocked at Loki's plan to assassinate the emperor. She repeats the goal to make sure that her comrade heard right. Yukito is very skeptical because he knows that she's supposed to be on the emperor's side. Loki places her hand and on his shoulders like one with a long-time friend, wanting to confirm that he's prepared to fight the empire too. Adder, shocked, turns to anger after realizing that her comrade has betrayed the empire. She immediately charges up an attack. However, before she can release it, Loki stabs her in the back, literally, as Adder lies on the floor paralyzed by the pain of the sudden attack. Loki reminds her that she has already been caught inside her ability. This is further displayed when Loki clicks her fingers, revealing that the attack she inflicted on Adder was also an illusion and she is in fact bound. Bertrand complains in confusion, wanting to know why she too is bound. Loki ignores her and asks Yukito and Madama if they are ready to go to the Imperial Palace. They make their way to the capital and proceed into the palace without incident. Loki leaves them down a corridored line with guards with stern expressions. They arrive at the Emperor's audience room where they meet the boss sitting on an elevated throne. Disgraced Adder throws herself to the Emperor and begins to apologize desperately for failing her mission to eradicate the offending isolation village. She is even more embarrassed to have allowed Loki, the filthy rebel, stand before him. She is shocked to hear the Emperor commend him on a job well done, revealing that Yukito's arrival was foretold. The monarch also knows that he's trying to revive the concept of gods and religion and finds it amusing watching him stressing to achieve this goal. The emperor explains that they have seen countless countries fight and ultimately destroy themselves for God, so they conclude that the only way to prevent a repeat of such destruction is to properly control people. Yukito is shocked to know that that concept existed in this world and even wonders if the emperor too is from a different world. Madama also notices something and makes her way to a pillar and destroys it. She reveals that everyone was acting weird and informs that both Yukito and Adder have been talking to a corpse this whole time. The illusion begins to crumble as the true nature of the place is revealed. The two stand with their mouth wide open. Loki lasts, not surprised that Madama saw through the deception. She explains that what they have been seeing is a fake image created by the facility. Loki walks up and kicks the skeleton off the cyber-looking throne. The skull lands next to a disturbed Adder. Loki continues, stating that the emperor of the country died centuries ago. Everything has been controlled by the machines in this facility that he put together before his demise. She has been tasked with maintaining the rooms, but she doesn't have a full understanding of how everything works. The machines have been analyzing and controlling all aspects of the country, from the economy and population growth down to the eradication of natural phenomena, all to maintain the empire's unchanging state. This is actually what the people call the assembly. Yukito looks around a little perplexed that the world has been controlled by science, since he was expecting it to be a more primitive era. The isolation of those who don't conform, coupled with the eradication of pleasurable things and end-of-life system, is the purest form of control. It begins to dawn on Yukito that these machines are more advanced than anything from his time. He now starts to doubt everything he knew about this world. Madama reveals that it has been several thousand of years since the world had been destroyed. A few smart people were among the survivors and banded together to build a land that could never meet the same fate again. While in the process, they also deleted the belief in gods. Yukito is surprised that she knew information about this world all along and asks her where they are. The goddess drops the bombshell that it is Earth. She sent him very far into the future. Yukito's head starts to spin with the revelation that he's not in another world. He wants to know why she brought him, so she reminds him that it was his wish when he was drowning in the ocean. He asked to be reborn in a world without gods or religion. She tells him that it was not easy to find such a time in Human history. Madama rushes over to Yukito for validation. The guy is feeling angry as this only proves his point that the gods are disconnected from humans as they only see them as their playthings. Loki interrupts, suggesting to Madama that they break the machines in the room and claims that it would bring the destruction of the Empire. Adder tries to protest, stating that the Archons were born to live for the Empire, but Loki feels like it is time for the charade to end since the ones who created the system were long gone. Now is the perfect time since people have appeared that are capable of doing this. The Archon pleads with Madama, who is happy to do so since the system is a threat to Yukito. He asks her to wait as Loki turns around. Yukito has already closed the distance and throws a kick at her, which she manages to block. She quickly goes on the offensive, waving a knife and attacks, but Yukito easily blocks and throws her to the floor. He holds her off at knife point with her blade. She tells him that she is just trying to give him useful information. Yukito discloses that he knows that she can't use her powers in the room or anywhere around the Imperial Palace. He demands to know what her goal is when the country gets destroyed. Loki informs him that she has already spilled the beans and she begins to waffle on. Yukito puts an end to that by stabbing the blade near her head to indicate that he's serious. This causes a slight cut on her cheek, while in her face he asks once more that she tells the truth. Loki thinks back to an end-of-life ceremony that takes place every day. The families of the deceased just take everything normally. There is no resistance. She sees a cockroach and goes to stand on it, and it scurries away. She feels like the insect is better than the humans of this country, as it has the will to survive. One day she was looking through the system and came across some information about a time when people were free and the world was not controlled by machines. She also found the name of some of the gods that these people worshipped, and they were the same as the Archons, but she didn't know who these gods were. Loki just longed to see the world return to this state, so to get that kind of experience she created clan and infiltrated an isolation camp. She was surprised that the lifestyle was free and she met good people. Things changed when Yukito appeared and started mentioning gods and other things that she read on the file. She finally met a god when Madama appeared after the execution incident, and things seemed to get even better in the village. She commented on being free, which Yukito made one of the doctrines of the religion, and commended her for being the most reliable person in the group. Madama got jealous and warned her not to fall in love with Yukito because she could see through Loki's disguise. Things flashback to the present as Loki reveals that that moment shocked her to the core because it meant that gods can't be fooled by her ability. She continued to observe and notice that Madama had similar powers to an Archon. The gods gained more powers when their number of followers grows. She was sure with this power the Empire could be destroyed. With the hypothesis, she experimented and went to a different isolation camp and showed them an illusion which led her to gain a few dozen followers. To her surprise, she was able to use powers that usually require the assistance of some devices. Loki concluded that they build the Archons to be like gods. Based on her speech, Yukito wants to know if she wants to play God, but she corrects him and says that they will destroy the Empire and they will become real gods. This admission shocks everyone, but Madama is not fazed by Loki's words. The Archon continues, stating that they will bring back the gods and return the world to what it was supposed to be. After hearing the plan, Adder screams that Loki has lost her mind. As she protests, she reminds her comrade that they exist to serve the Emperor and the Assembly. Adder feels like without them they don't have a reason to exist. Loki interrupts her emotional rant, revealing that she told all the other Archons apart from Adder about her plan to destroy the palace so that they can become gods, and they all agreed. This is information overload for Adder, as she timidly asks why Loki presents this as evidence that it means that she wasn't the only one who was getting sick of the way the world was set up. Adder falls to her knees as Loki pleads with Yukito to destroy the place and bring an end to the soulless country. He agrees, because the world with free will that she talks about isn't so bad. Yukito gives Madama the go-ahead to do her things. He speculates that as soon as they are free from the Empire, the Archons will begin to fight among themselves. If that happens, their village will be dragged into it as well. He thinks about everyone whilst knowing that it will not end well. With this in mind, he feels like there is only one way to protect them. He throws Loki's sword at the throne as Madama gets excited and summons the giant tree that sprouts out of the palace dome, breaking it in the process. The civilians wonder what is going on with a dead look in their eyes. Meanwhile, at the palace, Loki looks unhappy that Yukito has just gotten up the stage for the new age of gods. The Archon seems excited that the world is about to be thrust into chaos. However, for Yukito, nothing has changed for him, as he's still going to make Madama the god of this godless world. He is confident that the fake Archons can't win against a real god. That brings the episode to an end.